Hi everybody, I'm Robin from ParaThatsNotNormal.com, and I am doing my very first live broadcast. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you a bit about how I got started into all this, and I need to pull up my chat window here. Okay, so basically what happened was I got a Ouija board just like any kid did when I was, I don't know, like 10 years old, and it didn't immediately move. It was just a little crawl. So of course I'm like a little kid going, oh, it doesn't work. So I shove it in a closet and don't see it till I'm 19 years old. I have a friend come over. She's looking in that game closet. She's like, you got a Ouija board? I'm like, yes, I got a Ouija board. It doesn't work. She goes, yes, it does. So we used it, and shout out to Heather. So basically, we started playing on this Ouija board, and, hey, what's up? So basically, we had success, and she was in tears, and I'm thinking, okay, well, there must be something to this if she's actually in tears over this, because I knew I wasn't moving it, and people generally aren't going to move something to the point where they're going to make themselves cry. So it was around that time that my cousin was 2 years younger than me, and my aunt started taking us around these New Age stores. So basically what happened was my cousin was playing with the Ouija board in his garage with his buddies, and they did something strange with ash, and they were kind of not, I don't want to say asking for it, but they were doing some provocation, and it spelled out, I guess, the name of a demon. And at the time, I don't know how he knew what names the demons were, but, you know, he was a teenager. So what happened was she needed a way to get rid of this thing because things were starting to happen, and she was super spooked. So she started going to New Age stores to try to get some kind of banishing candles and what have you. And so it was at that point that I started thinking, oh, wow, this stuff's kind of neat. And my aunt started really getting into the stuff, and I ended up getting this book called Simplified Magic from my aunt that she ended up reading, and it's about the Qabala, and I ended up loving it. So basically at that point, I'm 19, 20, and my uncle, who's my aunt's brother, didn't really believe in the Ouija board or anything, and at the time he was living alone, and I'm kind of like, oh, come on, you know, he was like, okay, well, I'll try it. So I took it over, and he was a Civil War buff, and he goes, well, you know, hey, I can contact anybody who's dead. I'm like, yeah, anybody who's dead. And, oh, you're so welcome. So, yeah, he loved the movie. There's a particular movie about the 54th Regiment, and basically it was the all African American troop that fought for the North, and Colonel Shaw. So he wanted to contact Colonel Shaw. So we got on there and started telling jokes in a different era that we wouldn't necessarily understand. Like ale can make a blind man see, and it kept making jokes, and it's like, it was funny because he's like, here's my friend so-and-so, here's my friend so-and-so, and kept bringing these people on the board, and he's like, here's my friend Miguel. And then later, Colonel Shaw said, hey, name a ghost made in Mexico. And we said Miguel, and he's like, yes, laugh, and he would always tell us when to laugh. So knowing the dangers of the Ouija board or what have you, we just said, so would you stay and protect my uncle? And they said, sure. So next thing, things started happening at my uncle's house. He came home from work one day and the glass door of his stereo cabinet was just ripped off and laying on the middle of the floor. It was only just his cat home. The cat would act all weird around the upstairs door. Basically, there was a bucket that in the basement that started dripping water down the sides and pooling out, but it was dry in the middle and there was no water source. So then I asked my uncle, I'm like, so, you know, do you believe now? And he's like, well, 99%. So we just kept going back and forth with that a little bit. We brought the board back over because of the fact that he was really super creeped out. A door opened when he was half asleep and it creaked open in front of him. And we got on the board and we were talking to somebody, I think it was like a Becky or somebody, or Betsy. And we said, how many ghosts are here? And she said, well, Robert Gould Shaw moved in on January 3rd. I remember that distinctly. And she said, there's 9 ghosts. And we're like, whoa. So I would go back home where I didn't really mess with the board, but I'm always changing my hair colors and my mom would always help me. So I was in the kitchen sitting there. My mom's like bleaching my hair or whatever. And the next thing I know is that the TV in the living room started cycling through stations and landed on a Civil War program. And just weird stuff like that. I had an attic room and there'd be scratching on the other side of the wall where I'd be like leaning back against the wall. My mom would yell out, "What, Robin?" and think that I said her name, and she had a tap on the shoulder and she came running up the stairs and was freaked out. But I didn't do anything at my house. The other thing that was funny, because my dad never wanted to believe, so he would always make up a reason as to why something happened or whatever, because the alarm clock would go off and do weird stuff. He actually was in the bathroom, my mom was in the kitchen, and I was in the hallway, and the hallway closet opens to the bathroom where there's a little cubby, and there were footsteps that just went boom, 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 boom down the hallway on the hardwood floor. And then there was a knock on the inside of the cubby. And my dad just yelled out, "Stop that," in several curse words, because he thought that it was us playing a joke on him. And my mom and I just looked at each other and said it wasn't us. And then he just was still always in denial that anything was anything. So at that point, I'm maybe like 21 or whatever, and one of the things I picked up at one of these shops was a talisman, and it's basically sigils, and it's a much like this talisman, but it's a different talisman, and it was like from a Polish museum, I believe, and it was a sigil that was on a knight's belt. And it came with a little sheet of what you do to use it, and I did everything exact. And it was funny because I was following a band at the time, and my priorities back then is I just wanted to meet the people in this band, and I just wanted to go to a backstage party and whatever. So I held it in my hand and I hoped and prayed and everything that, and I did the little ritual that came with it. And it warmed in my hand, and I saw a golden glow off to my side. And it was funny because I wore it the next day, and I tore my brand new shorts. I tripped and fell, and I just remember yanking this thing off and tossing it aside, and I remember saying, "This thing doesn't work." And next thing I know, I get a phone call from my friend. I mean, this is the next day. I get a phone call from my friend going, oh my God, so-and-so's coming to town. And it wasn't the band, but it was a side project with one person from that band that I still liked. And it was funny because we got pulled at random to go to a backstage party. And then also we were coming out just as they were coming out. And we kind of like followed them back to find out what hotel they were staying at to try to get autographs. And so all the things I asked for happened. They came to town, that at random get pulled to a backstage, go to a backstage party and find out what hotel they were staying at. Now, I didn't clarify. This is the thing. When you do any kind of magic or anything, you got to clarify all the intentions, because I should have said, and get autographs or this and that. But I didn't. But all the things I asked for happened. And so then I'm like, okay, this stuff's for real. But I never, at the time, I never asked for much. There was one other time when I was being horribly bullied and in a work environment, and I just asked to have these girls leave me alone. And I went to work the next day, and the girl was fired. So I really have no idea, but the talismans and sigils, they do work, and they've worked recently for me as well. So I'm going to do videos on that stuff. But getting back to things, my uncle ended up having somebody move in with him that didn't believe, and that stopped all the activity, of course. My aunt and with my cousin, I don't think that thing ever probably got banished or sent away, because there was just some, stuff just kind of happened. And then as far as, I just kept going my merry way. And then I ended up moving out on my own, and I didn't want to mess with anything, because I didn't want any hauntings if I'm living by myself. So, the one thing I did use, and it's bizarre, but I think I know why. It's the talking board. And the talking board, I've never had a problem with something getting haunted or... So, actually, I'm going to do a live video. I'll set up I want to see how this goes through. I'm going to go back through and make sure this actually recorded, or that you guys can even really see me very well. But I'm going to do it where I can aim down and do a talking board session. And maybe I'll have it like where you guys can actually ask questions or something. But I tend to try to talk to my spirit guides. I have two, Sal and Tess. So that's my experience with ghosts specifically. I had one other experience when I went to England. My friend Louise, hey Louise, I love her dearly. She basically was always saying that there was what she felt like maybe an old blacksmith or what have you at her townhome that she lived in. So I brought the psychic circle over there because that's the talking board. Because it was Ouija boards at that time, in that era, were really frowned upon. And I took it over, and we started talking, and it said it was, if I remember correctly, Royal Oak Apple Day, and it was a blacksmith. And it was interesting because we started asking about past lives, and it said that I'd lived there before at Oldham. And we went around, we asked, and nobody really knew of Oldham. And it was funny. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I was watching a Ghost Adventures program, like, I don't know, like 8 years later or something, and they went to Oldham, England, and it was an old mining village. So, that was nuts. So it kept telling us to go to a place called the Clink. So there was like an old, I guess, prison, called the Clink, but we could never have we didn't find it, but I guess it does exist. When I was staying there, before I had eye surgery, like LASIK or anything, I was laying in the bed, and I had horrible vision, And I'm just looking, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm looking at the wall, and there's this like ecto green, like green, neon green, lime green, skittle, or green, misty, glowy thing on the wall. And I'm like, you know what? I could put my glasses on and see what that is. And I'm staring hard at it because I couldn't see, but I was too chicken to put my glasses on. So I literally I kind of just looked around, see if there's anything that could be reflecting light. And I didn't see anything. So I just put the covers over and went back to sleep. And I couldn't find anything that would be a source of that green light. So that was something where I probably could have seen a really good ghost with my own eyes, but I was too chicken to put my glasses on. So my friend Louise and I, when I was in England, we went to the London Dungeon. And the London Dungeon it's a wax museum of torture and kind of horrific history. And this is when it was near, I believe, Whitechapel. And it was on Tooley Street. And so they had a Jack the Ripper exhibit and everything. But we first go through this wax museum, and it smells like art materials, and it's like just fine. But there's all these horrific things, and they have the actual devices, actual torture devices. But we step through this one area, and all of a sudden the air gets really thick and dense, and then it feels like somebody's pushing down on my shoulders and pulling down on my legs, and I start getting really sick and feeling like I'm just gonna throw up really bad. And you'd think, okay, well, maybe I'm looking at something really scary, but I'm not. I'm just looking at, it's like somebody being waterboarded, being force-fed water, and their stomachs just rising. That's all it was. It was not anything much. And all I remember is just feeling so sick, and then stepping through, and they made us go through a mock trial. And then they pushed us down into the Victorian sewers, and we went on a sewer, like a boat ride. And I kept my eyes shut the whole time because any little thing jumped out of me, I was going to throw up because I was that nauseated from whatever was in that area. So that's how I sense bad spirits, energies, ghosts, whatever they are. I get like that, the thick air, the dense, and just disorientation and nausea. And it's weird because then we got off the boat, we walked, and that was like the Jack the Ripper exhibit, you know, I've seen scenes. I walk through the threshold, and all of a sudden the air gets crisp, it gets clean, I can breathe, and all the nausea starts to subside. And then stuff was like kind of horrific there. I mean, they had like a gallows, and they dropped some mannequin, whatever, through the ceiling as a surprise to scare you. But we went to the gift shop and asked the employee, is this place haunted or what? What goes on? Because that was the weirdest feeling. I was just so out of it and so sick, and it was just so thick air. And the guy's like, yeah, actually, the lights, you know, go on and off, and the little wax bodies and stuff of these, you know, mock deaths or whatever end up, like, I guess, picking up and moving over the course of the night to other areas when nobody's there. And he said that there was like the site of a old warehouse, and there were train tracks above, and a lot of deaths, I guess. So that was one of the horrible feelings I got. And just recently, there's a pizzeria that's in Detroit that's an original first area of the restaurant, and there's several of these pizzerias around, but the one in Detroit, I went there for a work event, and I walked in, and my coworkers must thought I was nutty, but first thing I said is, oh my God, this place must be haunted, because all the air was thick and dense, and I just walked into it and started feeling all dizzy. And the waitress looked at me, and she goes, oh yeah. And And she goes, but don't worry. And she taps this brooch of a saint on her. She goes, it'll be okay. And I'm just thinking, well, my gosh, what is in here? So it was just, that was kind of funny. That was my most recent experience. So like I said, I want to do a talking board session. I'll talk to probably my spirit guides, Sal and Tess. You can have more than one spirit guide. I found out I have two. One's a boy, or one's a man and one's a woman. I like to work with archangels a lot. Many times if I get something that has like some pagan gods or goddesses, I'll actually just swap it for archangels and it works the next day. So basically that's kind of a little bit of my background there. So because of the talismans and the luck that I had with it and stumbling onto it when I was younger, I got into sigils. And I recently am really getting into the ancient mysteries, and which involved the Qabala, which is what I was really into this book when I was 19. And I read another Qabala book when I was 19. But this stuff, when you really expound upon it, it's very advanced, and it was too advanced for me at that age. But I'm ready. I'm ready now. So yeah, King Solomon. I'm really into King Solomon. I am into Jewish mysticism. I'm into sigils, talismans, and the witch's moon boxes I've been unboxing. When I'm and their candles, their spell candles are outstanding, and the incense is amazing. So basically that's what I've been doing recently. The crystals, those crystal boxes, been getting into the crystals. Yeah, NMMK, thank you for the idea to do that pyramid video. I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to be doing a sphere one soon. Because with the sphere, it's going to radiate out at all directions. So I'm actually envisioning doing something with like, was it, if the term's correct, concentric circles that kind of go out and then linking the circles together. And probably, since I have my parents, when they'd be in that like 20-ish, you know, when I was kind of exploring all this early on, got me a little crystal ball. So I'm going to use that little crystal sphere. So it's going to be a very positive and very powerful grid. So you can expect that soon. Yeah, cool. I'm glad that worked for you. And it was a good exploration for me too as well. Awesome. Here's what I want to do. So I have a website, ParaThatsNotNormal.com. And what I want to do is, because I have a magic section and I got it broken down, but I haven't been giving it the time that I've been giving YouTube. I've just been kind of throwing my YouTube videos onto it. And that's actually all content from when I was 19 and 20. I had a website called Shadow Secrets. And that actually is a lot of what that content is that's already there. So what I want to do is I want to have a community, and there's going to be a community page. What I'd like to do is have people like you, NMNK, if you want to take a picture of your grid and like kind of like a recipe, right? We just submit our recipes and we can just have everybody's grids showcased right there on that page. And I think that would be wonderful. So if you want to do something like that, I'm going to post, I'm going to go back into my description. I'm going to post Robin at ParaThatsNotNormal.com for email. And I can be emailed a picture of the grid and like the stones that you used in the grid. And if you want to give a description as to why you wanted to do that grid, or like how you came about coming up with that grid, then I can showcase them there. Yay, that'll be great. I'm looking forward to that. And then I'll also have a community page where I would love if people want to post pictures of their crystal collections. So you can just kind of take a picture of all your favorite crystals, and you can explain why they're your favorite crystals. And if you want to submit that to me at robin@ParaThatsNotNormal.com, I can go ahead and put that on a page. So sometime this weekend, I'll actually be I'll get those pages set up, and it'll just say like TBD or to come. I'll put my stuff up first as to show you guys how to, you know, what I'm kind of like getting at. But I think it'd be neat. I think it'd be neat to take that website and make it a community site and get some engagement. So that's kind of where I see things going. I'm good with pendulums. I'm gonna do tarot card lessons. Basically, I just self-taught by like the Magickal journal that I suggest for the crystal grid designs and things. I also recommend, and this is one thing that I do, is you take a card and you start with the Rider-Waite tarot deck. Start with that one first. It's very, very, very visual. The symbols are very representative of what the card means. And you just sit down with the card and you jot down everything that you see, every image, what that image means to you, kind of like if you were interpreting your dream. And that's how I learned. And I'll go through that with you guys. That's how something else I want to do. And then eventually when the weather breaks and we don't have bomb cyclones and hailstorms and it's snowing right now in Michigan, we're going to have tons of ghost investigation stuff with my friend Tracy. But we're careful, like, we're going to scrutinize a bit what we're putting up because we want to have as much integrity with what we put up as possible. But what we will do too is put it up and ask for you guys to tell us what you think it is. So we will oh, what's Boo got here? Small but cute collection, make a witchy jewelry tour. Oh yeah, actually I could go through jewelry too. Yep. In fact, I was gonna do a couple of thrift store witchy hauls. I went to 3 or 4 of them this weekend, and all I did was come back with more teacups and vanity trays and things that I don't really need, but nothing really witchy. I couldn't really find anything witchy, just more teacups. Like, I couldn't even store anymore in this house. But yeah, and I have not ever done tea leaf readings, so that's something else we can explore. Like I said, this is a channel of exploration, and then it's exploration of anything that is paranormal and anything that is out of the ordinary and is magical and is all about manifestation and open mind and imagination and creativity. And I'm looking to grow, and I'm looking to share my growth with you and have you grow with me. So that's where we're going. And I want to thank you for joining on my very first live video. Actually, I take that back. This is a retake. The first one was really horrible because I was actually watching the view while I was recording, and there was a delay, and it was like looping and stuff, but I deleted it. So this is the first one, and not the last. So I appreciate you watching. NMMK, I'm going to have to get a name from you if you don't mind, so that I don't always have to call you that. Do you want me to call you anything else? Oh, you like teacups too? I do. Yeah, I love teacups. I got so many sets now. It's not funny. But Yeah. All right. I think we got something good going on here. I'll post my email in the description, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Thanks for stopping by.